here's my sound preferences. I like a variety of different tunings, but really what gets my juices flowing, starting from the lower octaves, is in the bass. I like my bass punchy, tight, fast with a kick. I like a little bit of energy down there, maybe a little bit of warmth, but not too much into the getting into bass bleeding. It's got to have enough weight to make male vocals, make piano, cello, percussions, have the right tonality. When it comes to my mids, I do like my mids and mid clarity, but I don't like too forward a mid, so that's the upper mids I'm talking about. So keep the pinna gain down a little bit and not make it too forward a presentation. And when it comes to the highs, I do like my sparkly highs. At my age, I'm probably losing a little bit of the high frequencies, but not too much where it's sibilant and in your face. So that's what I like. Hello, good evening. I realized I start a lot of my videos telling you I'm the tone deaf monk. It's like Jason Derulo. It's like Jason Derulo, who screams his name out every single freaking song. And I'm gonna not do that anymore. Anyway, hello my lovely people. I'm in a great mood. And why am I in a great mood? Well, I'm in a great mood because I was listening to great music. And why was I listening to great music? Another great question you asked. Well, it's because I was listening to something I really enjoyed. And so I'm bringing you today a Pre5tige IEM made in the US of A. And this one is from Symphony Ears, and Isaiah is the creator and the manufacturer and the Pre5tige army that makes these great IEMs. This is my third set that I've listened to from him, and all of these have been paid for, by the way, and they've all kind of impressed all of us in the Canuck Audioholics. So get a chance, read Bennett's and Kevin's reviews as well on this set, and I didn't read theirs yet because I want to make my own impressions. And this is how I came away. This review is also going to be the first one that I'm also including my kind of review score sheet. So that's the one in progress I'm making. So we'll see how that goes as well. But let's first talk about this little bad boy here, the Symphony Ears Prestige, spelled with a 5 for, I think, very good reason. This is $679 of what's after 4? That's quad. Sanctet? Okay. What's inside? Well, first of all, whoa. Slow this roll. Now, just some information up front. So this unit was supplied to me, loaned to me, by a crusty old bastard, one of the Canucks. So I'm not sure if this is full production set. I don't think so, because Isaiah did write serial number 2, Isaiah Shell. I think it says Prestige with a 5, SE. It came in this little box, and I'm going to give it a higher score on the presentation, and I'll go into that why. It's minimalistic, it's environmentally sound, I like it a lot. It comes with this really nice little case. I mean, it's not branded or anything, but you know what? It's pocketable, and it does a great job of keeping the IEM safe. Inside there's a little mesh, a silicone package to keep them dry, and there's 3 sets of each tips, and I'm going to talk about this. So there's some Starline tips, and there's some deep insertion wide bore. That's what comes in the package, and in the cable wise, sorry, it's a 4.4 black cat cable, and that's what Isaiah paired it with, and I'll go into that a bit more too. So, some of the things I've noticed about this set. Okay, some of the things I noticed about this set. Isaiah obviously spent some time, considerable time, I'm sure, in not only tuning this set, but also making sure the user experience also gets his vibe. And what he was laying down, what he wanted to achieve. You can kind of see it come out in the whole presentation, right? For me, this IEM is smooth, detailed, and extremely musical. Things that pull my heartstrings. Really love that. That chosen black cat cable, let's start with that, was well known in the audiophile circles. It's a unique sounding cable, and it pairs extremely well with Isaiah's Prestige. That cable kind of has a really smooth kind of analog feel to it. I have a few of these that I use, and I pick it up when I want to pair something, especially with hybrid IEMs. I think it goes really well. So, secondly, the chosen wide bore tips that he chose with this, and deep insertion. So there's a reason why I'm saying that. And I'll give you a little bit more information as well. So here's the shell, and this is why I'm thinking it may not be because the top plates are different from what he sells now. So he may have, or I'm not sure if Kevin chose a different top plate for his, but inside of the resin shells you can see the drivers that's in there, and what is in there I should talk about right now. So let's finish up with the wide bore. I want to talk about those wide bore tips and wide deep insertion. So here's a frequency response graph. So you can see it has a really nice bass shelf, sub bass, but still there's lots of energy down into the 200s, into the mid bass. and it doesn't go completely scooped out harmonish. Really love that. And that'll talk about the mids in a minute. You can see the ear gain, again, is really, really well done. It's not this massive 20 dB gain in there, really quite well tuned. Again, upper mids, upper treble, and even in some treble extension into the 12-15K. And that's how now I'm going to segue into the drivers that Isaiah chose. I think that's a good point at this point. So inside of these really nice resin shells, remember he hand makes all of this himself. There is so I didn't actually, when I was doing my research after I was doing my listening impressions, everything kind of clicked. It just kind of made sense. And if you've ever watched any of my videos before, I do talk about not just my tuning, but some of the drivers that I look for that I know for me hits a certain pleasure points, you might say. And one of them is biodynamic drivers. If you're not familiar with biodynamic, it's basically a cellulose or a paper derivative, and typically treated against moisture. But I find wood, paper, whatever, has a really natural sound, and it has a really organic, deep bass sound, and it has a slower decay, but not too slow to make it muddy or kind of mushy. And I really like this dynamic driver that's in here. So that's one, and you can see it in there. And then you can also see this 11 millimeter. Yes, it's bigger than the dynamic driver. This is elastic, kind of elastic style bone conduction driver. This is what you saw in the Pula anvil, and you can hit or miss with this, and I'll talk about that as well. Sonyan, BA for mids. I love Sonyan BA for mids. I don't think there's anything more natural sounding. There's a couple dynamic drivers I've heard for the mid-range that do a wonderful job, but man oh man, do I like Sonyan Sonyan balanced armatures for the mid-range, and there's one of those in here. Now there's also a Knowles BA for the highs. Doesn't stop there. So again, this is a hybrid with 5 different kinds of drivers, and there's also a 7 millimeter magnetostatic super tweeter. I don't know much about those, nor did I care to actually look it up. I was more interested in just enjoying the sound. So if you care to do that, you can. But whatever it is in here is really working for that ultra high end as well. You can hear that. And it adds a lot of sparkle and details to the top end, but never sounds kind of harsh. So let's get back more into sound here. Now, just circling back about the deeper insertion wide bore tips. Wide bore tips for me do a couple things. They open up the stage. They don't compress the stage, so they can open up the stage as much as possible to give you great width. I find the narrower bore makes it bassier. It kind of shunts the top end, but with this cable, my source that I was using, which happened to be the Ibasso DX340 with amp 17 amp card. Wonderful, wonderful pairing. And why you would choose a deeper insertion. If you chose a shallower insertion, you might get more high end. It might come off as a little bit sibilant and sharp. But a deeper insertion with a wide bore tip it does go in. The shells are beautiful in the shape, a little tachia or trachea part right there for your ears. But the way these go in, they can go in. The nozzle angle is very good. But you can play these loud and you don't get any sibilance or harshness in the top end. So combination, again, well-chosen drivers and Ear tips, again, are paramount for most people. So with this set, and again, what Isaiah included, it all kind of came together and totally made sense. For those treble sensitive people, you can just use those Starline narrow bore tips. You'll get more bass out of it, but you also get less treble. So there you go. But you would get more of that awesome sounding dynamic driver. So win-win, right? And then again, I normally don't talk about cables and tips frequency because I find myself swapping out whatever they typically come with in the box to make sure I get proper seal fitment, but in this case, full marks to Isaiah for doing what he did on this whole package. So everything really, again, has great synergy. So again, those whiteboard tips, this cable, and this IEM, put it all together, shebango, right? This set sounds great at low volumes, and this is something that doesn't always happen, and is quite balanced. So there's some bass and there's some nice mids, and you can hear some sparkly highs. Nothing is kind of out of balance there. Some IEMs, you need to feed them tons of juice in order for them to sound correct. Well, this isn't one of these sets. This will work for pretty much anything, and because it's also fairly efficient, you can probably drive this off a 100 milliwatt dongle and have zero issues whatsoever. But I was feeding it with 2 watts of power on my DX340 with LHW or LHY linear power supply. That's what I was running, and oh man, I didn't get up to 1/4 of the volume dial, but I like it. That's when the real fun starts, and for me, when you start pushing the volume control up on this set, it really scales incredibly well. And this is what happens when you do that. The mids really pick up. Then the 11 millimeter bone conduction driver comes out to play more. And the entire frequency range response, the whole response, becomes fuller and more dynamic, right? The Pre5tige still maintains that great sense of full frequency balance, but the depth of the stage increases, where you can now get your center vocals and instruments now come out forward or backwards from the singers or center stage, and this changes per track. So that's how I could really get a better sense of what this thing is doing. So sometimes that doesn't happen. That sometimes it's every track sounds the same, but in this one, it's resolving enough that you can hear that. So let's talk about that Sonyan for mids, for the vocal sound. So naturally smooth and effortless, really. Singers sound perfectly natural, like you would expect or what you think they should sound like. And going back to that biodynamic driver, it's wonderful. It's full, it's deep, it has great texture for drums and piano, great weight, and it just the right amount of attack and decay on the drum skins. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, when they're hitting a drum skin, the resonances after that hit, can you pick up? And how fast are they? Are they too fast? Sometimes planar drivers do that, or BA sets, and piano keys. In this one, when you're listening to Elton John, and he's playing the piano, you can hear the resonances of the drum skins. Hani Arani. I listen to her a lot for evaluation. She's a great artist as well. She's unique. So when she has a microphone behind the piano on the strings of the piano and another one behind her and another one on the keys, and they mix them all together, and clearly with the Pre5tige you can hear the resonances of the strings of the piano. Very well done. So the lower mids, as we're going through this like frequency spectrum, are full. You can hear the bone conduction driver helping out for some texture into the mid bass and into the upper mids. The mids really, I could spend all day talking about the mids. And it's not a one-trick pony with this set. It's got wonderful bass. It's got phenomenally natural mid-range. And it's got a nice top end. So there's really not too much I'm faulting for this. I guess I'm really jiving with the tuning of this set. And those elastic style bone conduction drivers can be a hit or miss. And I'm happy to report that the implementation Isaiah did was done perfectly. Not too much to be a distraction, and just enough to have a clearly audible sonic enhancement to the overall experience. And the other thing I noticed with these elastic style bone conduction drivers is the trailing edges of notes like hi-hat cymbals, that kind of stuff. You really just get an extra dimension of sound when cymbal strikes are hitting and stuff. It's like, right? That's, like that. If you like, for example, as I do, the Pula Anvil, and how that one sounds with the implementation of that bone conduction driver, this would be the progression. This would be the serious step up from the Pula Anvil, in my opinion. When Isaiah did the upper mids, again, really well done, in my opinion. Very controlled, but it has enough energy, again, and I think the bone conduction driver is adding some in there. So when you look at graphs, sometimes it's a bit hard to actually tell, especially with these, I call them hidden drivers, that you don't see on paper, but you actually hear them. So the tonality and excitement that the upper mids do bring with this so much energy is really nice. Strings, female vocals are precious and a real pleasure to listen to. I was really quite engaged when I was listening to my favorite female artists. Taylor Swift. When it comes to the treble, there's no trouble with the treble. Lots of detail, sparkle up top without becoming sibilant or overbearing. Does this set have amazing air and separation? No, but it does a very good job. I think there's no complaints really up there. Stage hounds? I'm in two camps with stage sometimes in the perception thereof. How does this sound to Rankin from Dead Can Dance? Wonderful. It did sound like you were in the nosebleed seats, and you could hear the mic on the stage and the acoustic resonances of the venue. Well done. Was it incredibly 3D? No. I don't think it was. It's more intimate and musical. And this kind of stage is where it just wants to keep you engaged, keeps you focused and pulled into the music. There's a decent amount of layering to the overall stage. But again, if you were like that really kind of 3D spatial effect, this is where the set goes more balanced towards the musical side than a technical beast. Now this section, I'm going to go over some of the things, and this is, again, bear with me, this is a work in progress, and this is my first one that I'm going to use my overall score sheet. So let's see if I can pull it up here, and how did this do? So if you're not familiar with this, so what I'm doing is I'm giving everything a score out of 100, and this is how I kind of came up with it, and I'll go deeper into a next video where I actually use this one. No, I might not use this one because I'm not sure about the final retail presentation, but I'll show you what I did. So the sound part, the objective section for me is weighted higher than a lot of other sections. And so the first section I do is sound. I call it from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. And I kind of break it down, right? So in sub bass, out of a score of 20. And the reason I'm using higher scores, like on a 0 to 20 scale, is I take exception to a lot of the 1 to 5 from head 5, right? I think it's not enough of a scale. By doing the 0 to 20, I got a big field of what I can play in there, right? So in this one, sub bass, do I find it better than average of 10? Yes. So I scored it 15 out of 20. Could it be better? Yes, it could be better. But I really do like it. If anything, I would have gave it a higher score. But mid bass, again, a 15 out of 20. Why? Because it's nice and textured and organic and deep. And is it the fastest, speediest mid bass? No, but it's got enough to keep me happy. And it's that, biodynamic driver sounds different, more big woofer sound than, say, a beryllium driver, for instance, right? Lower mids, full score, 20 out of 20. I really like the lower mids. Mid-range, perfect. Absolutely love the mid-range in this set. 20 out of 20. Upper mids, again, so tastefully done, and again, enhanced by that bone conduction driver. Full score. Lower treble, again, really nicely done. Again, I'm not looking at a graph. I'm going by my ears in this particular case. I really like the way it came out. Nothing offensive and lots of details there. Upper treble, same way, 20 out of 20. Air and extension here, I gave 10 out of 20. I thought, yeah, it could be better. Did it give me that sense of and a lot of that's where the stage comes from, is that air and separation. I just found, out of that. So just doing that percentage of a scale for overall review, weight score, 70%, total score out of 80. Here, well, that doesn't make sense. I got to fix that, apparently. Score was 98 out of 140. So technical chops, and here's where I'm also weighting it quite high, 80%, more than 70%. So micro and macro details. So here, overall dynamic scaling between softer passages within a specific part of the track, micro, and overall the entire track, the macro, does the sound playback add an emotion to the recordings as you feel the artist intended to the music or the musical producer mixed in the recording? Do soft passages have a dynamic differential in volume and build up in the excitement in the track or the recording to give you the sense or instill into you an emotional response from the recording? And I scored 9 out of 10. Whew, that was a lot of talking. Resolution and details, 7 out of 10. Again, here I could have felt it was a better. Can you pick up nuances in the music, guitar picks, finger slides? Again, better than average, but not great, or not perfect, let's put it that way. Background and noise, black background. Was it good? Yes. Did it wow me? No, there's certain IEMs that really did, like the BGVP Solomon at $1,300. So yeah, double the price. Layering and separation out of 20, gave it a 15, so pretty good. Instrumental texture and organics. Here I say, do instruments sound natural? Wind instruments and strings, what is your perceived level of how well they come across sounding natural and organic? And again, I did a 16 out of 20, so pretty darn good. Vocals, perfect score, 20 out of 20. So again, weighted that section. Stage, here I broke it down into width, depth, height, 3D spatial placement. And I gave it a weighted score again. So, and then overall build and quality. So here was a bit of a weird one with this set because I'm not sure if it's final version or not. So I gave it a perfect score there. Aesthetics, again, 10. Finish, 10. Shape and design, definitely the shell shape is really nice, very comfortable. Perfect score. Quality materials, again, everything, no complaints there. But this whole section, other metrics, presentation and quality, are scaled for weight-wise in my review score a whole lot less. So the sound is important, but the other metrics I'm also weighting, but at a much lesser scale, right? And then I came to the clearly objective section, right? Fitment, again, I'm different from everyone else. I gave it a perfect 20. Really love this. And perceived value, right? 1 out of 20. And here I gave it a perfect score. I think at that asking price, it's $679 for a boutique IEM, a small shop made in the States, giving you a branded cable and ear tips and a nice case. I think it's a great value, actually, for what you get. And for you, of those of you who live in the States that can't get a hold of any hi-fi, take a serious look at this set. It is a great sounding set. And I love supporting and bringing forth information from boutique companies and people like Isaiah. So, yeah, I'm a big supporter of that as well. So, perceived value. Out of this total thing, I weighted it differently, again, with the different weights across the board. Came with a total weighted score of 171, and then to make it out of a 0 to 100, I basically divide that in half, and I get an 85 out of 100. So for this set, that's my review score. That's how I got here. So thanks for bearing with me on that long one. And I'll try to, in future reviews, kind of stream that down as I find my footing on that. So in conclusion, I love the set. I really do. It jives with me very much. Doesn't do too much wrong at all. Looks good. Great combination of drivers, and the implementation thereof is really well done. There was so many spots with using 5 different kinds of drivers that things could have went sideways and down the shitter, and they certainly didn't. So I guess a testament to Isaiah's skills. And this is a company to definitely keep a lookout for, because this is now, again, like I said, the 3rd set that I've heard from him, and they've all been worthy. So, Tone Deaf Monk, thanks for watching. I'm out for now.